Hey everyone, and welcome back to Speak More Fluently. Today we're diving into something kind of different, but super important for how you connect with others.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
We're talking about the power of really, truly hearing and understanding what someone's saying to you.
Right.
Have you ever had that thing where you walk away from a chat and you're like, wait, what was the point of that? Or even worse, you felt like you weren't even heard.
Happens all the time.
So in this deep dive,
Yeah.
we're going to unpack some seriously practical tools, things you can use right away, to not just hear words, but to really get the deeper meaning, build those stronger connections, and sidestep those totally frustrating misunderstandings.
Yeah.
This isn't just about language,
Right.
It's about unlocking a whole new level of communication in literally every part of your life.
It really is. It's so important to think about this because, we always talk about speaking fluently, and people always put the emphasis on what they're saying. But to be a truly effective communicator, you got to start with the other side of the equation, right? Your ability to listen actively and deeply understand.
Yeah, okay. So let's get into that. What's the difference between just sounds going into your ears and actually deeply listening?
Well, when you truly listen, you're engaging on all these different levels. So it's not just about processing the words themselves. It's also picking up on the context around them.
Okay.
The speaker's tone, their body language, even those little subtle cues that maybe suggest what they're not actually saying directly.
Mm-hmm.
All of that paints a much bigger picture of what their message really is.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it's about building relationships. When you really give someone your full attention and you show them that you're hearing them, it says so much. It says, I respect you, I empathize with you, you're important to me.
Yeah, it's so true. I hate when I'm talking to someone and they're on their phone
Oh my God.
or looking around the room. It just instantly makes you feel like, oh, okay, what I'm saying doesn't matter.
Totally. And, from a language learning perspective, you're picking up new words and grammar in context,
Right.
which helps you understand the little nuances and how to use them yourself. Plus, think about it. It helps you avoid all those miscommunications.
Oh, yeah.
By actively listening and, not being afraid to ask for clarification when you need it.
Yeah.
You can make sure everyone's on the same page, avoid all that frustration later on.
Okay, so we get why it's so important.
Yeah.
But what are some things that we can start doing, right now, today,
Yeah.
to get better at this kind of listening?
I think the first thing, and it might sound obvious,
Okay.
but focus.
Oh, yeah.
Really make an effort to concentrate on the person speaking. Minimize those distractions. Phone away. Find a quieter spot if you can, and just direct your energy towards the conversation.
It does sound simple, but it's so hard these days.
It really is. It's like a superpower.
Yeah.
And then that leads right into active listening.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you intentionally engage with whoever's talking.
Okay.
You're showing them. You're not just passively hearing. You're really with them. And one of the best ways to do that is eye contact. It's so powerful. You're telling them, I'm here.
You're present.
You're present with you.
Yeah, you're not just staring blankly, though, right?
Exactly. You can nod along, smile when it's appropriate. Those nonverbals that say, I'm following you, I understand. Another super effective technique.
Okay.
Paraphrasing.
Okay.
This is where you take what you heard and put it into your own words to make sure you got it right.
Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. Let's say someone says, I'm juggling deadlines at work, trying to help my parents, and honestly, I'm feeling totally stretched thin.
Mm-hmm.
You could say something like, so it sounds like you're feeling super overwhelmed right now because of work and family stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And then they can say, yeah, exactly. Or, well, not just that, it's also...
So it prevents you from making assumptions.
Exactly.
Yeah. What else is in that active listening toolkit?
Asking clarifying questions.
Okay.
This is so important. If anything is unclear or you just need a little more info to really get it, don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah.
A simple question like, could you tell me a bit more about what you meant by shifting strategy?
Mm-hmm.
It just shows you're really trying to understand.
Right. So it's not just about absorbing words. It's about actively building understanding.
Mm-hmm.
What about when someone's giving you a ton of information?
Oh, yeah. That can be tough.
How do you keep from drowning in all the details?
You got to listen for that core message.
Okay.
Instead of trying to remember every single thing, try to figure out what their main point is.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what are they trying to tell me?
I like that. That helps you stay focused.
Absolutely. And here's another tip to really help you understand and remember.
Okay.
Engage your imagination.
Oh, interesting.
While they're talking, try to picture what they're describing.
Okay.
This can really help you understand the context and make it way more memorable. Like, if they're telling you about a trip they took, try to see those places in your mind.
Got it.
And we talked earlier about how listening helps you learn new words.
Yeah, can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely. When you listen to native speakers, whether it's in person or, through podcasts, movies, whatever, you're going to come across new words.
Mm-hmm.
Be proactive, write them down, look them up later.
Okay.
Try using them in your own speaking and writing.
So you're like organically building your vocab.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to listen to all sorts of accents and speaking speeds,
Right.
English is spoken all over the world. The more you hear those different ways of speaking, the better a listener you'll become.
Okay. These are all really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go a little deeper into those active listening techniques.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned being present in the conversation.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean in the moment?
It's about being fully engaged.
Okay.
Not just physically there, but mentally and emotionally there.
Mm-hmm.
It means silencing that little voice in your head and focusing all your attention on the other person. When you're truly present, you're going to pick up on those tiny cues,
Right.
The shift in their tone that might mean they're sad, the emphasis on a certain word, the emotion behind what they're saying.
Okay.
To respond in a way that really makes sense, you have to catch those little things.
So you're like a communication detective.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. What about some exercises? You mentioned some things we can do to get better at this.
Yeah, definitely. Simple mindfulness can make a huge difference, even just a few minutes a day.
Okay.
And for listening specifically, try this. Listen to a short audio clip, maybe a news story or something.
Yeah.
And afterward, try to summarize the main points in your own words.
Got it.
It helps you learn to pull out that key info and stay focused while you're listening.
Awesome. And you were talking about asking questions strategically.
Yeah, that's crucial.
It's not just about asking any random question,
Right. Good questions can do so much. Okay.
They help clear up confusion, but they also show the person that you're really interested.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, things like, could you say more about that? Or what did you mean when you said?
Okay.
Those are great for getting more information, but also consider questions like, how did that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
It shows empathy and it invites them to share more of their perspective, their emotions.
So it deepens the conversation.
Absolutely.
What about reflective statements? I feel like people don't really think about using those that often.
They can be super powerful for building rapport and showing you understand. Things like, wow, that sounds like a total experience, or I can tell you're really excited about this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just hearing their words, you're hearing their feelings, their whole experience.
Right.
It encourages them to open up even more and feel truly heard.
It's like you're reflecting their emotions back to them.
Exactly. So we've talked a lot about listening, but obviously the other half of this is how you respond.
How do you go beyond just a quick reaction to what someone said?
It's funny, sometimes I'm so busy thinking about what I'm going to say next
Yeah.
that I don't even process what I just heard.
That happens to everyone. To respond in a way that's really effective, you got to slow down, think about what they said, and give thoughtful feedback.
Okay.
So instead of just, okay, got it, say something that shows you actually listened. Like, I appreciate you sharing that with me, or that's an interesting point. I never thought of it like that.
Those responses make you feel a lot more heard and understood.
Absolutely. And try pausing for just a second before you jump in. Resist that urge to interrupt. It shows respect and gives you time to process what they said.
I struggle with that sometimes,
Yeah.
especially if I'm excited about the topic.
I know. It takes practice. And another thing that can really help is asking open-ended questions. We touched on this before, but remember, questions that invite a detailed answer are way better than those that just get a yes or no.
Right.
Things like, what are your thoughts on this? Or how do you feel about that?
Okay. Those get the conversation going and give you more to listen to.
Yeah, it's like a double win. You're practicing listening and you're getting them to share more.
Right.
What about empathy?
Oh, so important. Showing that you understand and care about their feelings.
Right.
It's a game changer for building strong connections. Phrases like, that sounds really tough, or I can see why you feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Those go a long way.
So it's all about acknowledging and validating their emotions.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked a lot about words, but communication is so much more than that.
Absolutely. There's a whole silent language going on.
Yeah, body language.
Body language, facial expressions, tone of voice.
It's crazy how much we communicate without even saying anything.
It really is.
Yeah.
When you're listening, pay attention to their posture. Are they open and relaxed, or are they closed off?
Yeah.
Are they facing you?
You can tell so much from that. Like if someone's not interested, their body language will totally give it away, for sure. And then there are facial expressions, smiling, mirroring the emotions of the conversation. Those things really help you connect.
Yeah, if someone's sharing something sad and you have a sympathetic expression, you make them feel so much more supported.
Exactly. And don't forget tone of voice.
Oh, yeah.
The same words can mean totally different things depending on how you say them.
That's so true. Like if you just read a text message, you could totally misinterpret it because you don't have that tone of voice.
Totally. If you want to get better at this, you can actually practice in front of a mirror.
Interesting.
Try making different facial expressions, using hand gestures while you listen to recordings. It'll help you become more aware of your own body language.
I like that. Okay, so we live in this world where technology is everywhere. Can we actually use it to get better at listening?
Definitely. There's a ton of stuff out there. Podcasts, audiobooks, you name it. It's all great for getting exposed to natural English.
Right, right.
And remember, actively listen. Jot down new words.
It's like having a library of listening practice.
Exactly. And there are language learning apps that have specific listening exercises.
Yeah.
They often have quizzes and stuff to help you remember what you heard.
I use apps for vocab, but I haven't really thought about them for listening practice.
Give it a try. And don't forget about YouTube.
Oh, yeah, YouTube.
There are so many videos, even ones made for English learners.
Mm-hmm.
You can use subtitles at first and then try watching without them as you get better.
That's a good way to get used to different speaking styles.
For sure. And, if you want to practice in a more interactive way, try joining an online community. You can chat with people, discuss things. It's real-world practice.
It's like your own little language exchange.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got all these techniques, all these resources. How do we make sure we're actually improving?
Consistent practice is key. And one way to do that is by keeping a listening journal.
Okay, what's that?
After you listen to something, a conversation, a podcast, whatever, write down the main points.
Mm-hmm.
New words you learned, how well you think you understood.
So you can track your progress.
Exactly. And another technique I love is shadowing.
Shadowing?
It's where you listen to someone and try to copy their pronunciation, their tone, their pace.
Oh, wow.
It helps you with both listening and speaking.
Sounds challenging.
It is, but it's super effective, and role-playing can be helpful too.
Like acting out conversations.
Exactly. It gives you a chance to practice in a safe space.
Right.
And one last thing, record yourself speaking and then listen back.
Oh, that sounds scary.
I know, but it's so helpful. You can hear how you sound, how clear you are, how well you respond. It's like giving yourself feedback.
Okay, I can see how that would be valuable. Now, even with all this practice, there's still going to be challenges, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what about different accents?
That's a big one. The best way to get over that is to expose yourself to as many accents as possible.
Okay.
Watch international news, movies from different countries. It'll train your ear.
So it's like getting your brain used to those different sounds.
Exactly. And what about when people speak super fast?
Oh, yeah, I struggle with that.
Start with slower audio and gradually increase the speed. Don't be afraid to listen to the same thing multiple times.
Right.
Repetition helps a lot.
What about losing focus? Sometimes my mind just wanders.
That happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Mindfulness can really help.
Okay.
And when you're practicing listening, find a quiet spot. Minimize those distractions.
Got it.
And if you feel your mind drifting during a conversation, gently bring it back to the speaker.
Like a mental reset button.
Exactly. And if you're having trouble remembering details, try summarizing what you heard in your own words.
Okay.
Or talk about it with someone.
Right, to reinforce it.
Yes.
Okay, last thing. Building confidence.
So important.
How do we stay motivated?
Start with realistic goals. Don't expect to understand everything perfectly overnight.
Right.
Set smaller targets.
Okay.
And ask for feedback from language partners or friends.
It can be hard to ask for feedback, but it's so helpful.
It is. And take time to reflect on your progress.
Okay.
Look back at your journal, listen to old recordings. You'll see how much you've improved.
Love that.
And most importantly, be patient with yourself. This takes time and effort.
Yeah.
Every conversation is a step forward, even if you don't understand every single word.
It's a journey, not a race.
Exactly.
Well, this has been such a fascinating deep dive into listening.
It's been fun.
What's the one thing you really want our listeners to remember?
Active listening, thoughtful responses.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the keys to communication and to building strong relationships.
It's not just about speaking, it's about connecting.
Absolutely.
So for you, our listener, think about your last conversation. How might it have gone differently if you'd used just one of these techniques?
Yeah.
How might you have understood more or felt more connected?
Good question.
Start trying these things out. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on listening.
See you next time.